If you have recorded a 360 video with your Insta360 camera, there are infinite possibilities to reframe the video in post-production. In this tutorial, I show you my favorite creative 360 video reframing ideas and how to create them in Insta360 Studio. Keep in mind, all the reframed videos you see now were created with the same raw 360 video footage. These were my 8 reframing options for this 360 footage, recorded with the Insta360 ONE X2. Which option do you like the most? Or do you have another creative reframing idea? Let me know in the comments. Because a lot of you are not working with Adobe Premiere Pro and After Effects, I decided to show you in this tutorial how to create all these shots in Insta360 Studio. The first reframing idea is the 360 Lookaround. In the first step, I import the 360 raw material. With the View tab, you can review the material and move around. To edit and reframe the video, we switch to the Free Capture tab. I recommend you to use the 16:9 ratio, because this is the standard video format. If you want to create the video, especially for Instagram or TikTok, you can also switch the ratio to 1:1 or 9:16. The next step is to set the keyframes to reframe the footage. Set the keyframe at the beginning and choose the natural view mode. Set the field of view value to 115 and the distance parameter to 0.3. This gives you a nice wide field of view. At the start of the 360 look around, the perspective should be directed towards me, so I set the keyframe at the beginning. To add dynamic, I adjust the roll angle a little bit. About 2 seconds later, I set another keyframe with a minimal different perspective and roll angle. The next 2 keyframes are pointing to the tree in the front. I tried to center the tree in the picture, what is not easy because there is a grid missing in Insta360 Studio. Hopefully the grid function will be added in the future. The next keyframe points again at me. Also, the last keyframe is centering me in the image. Again, I adjusted the roll parameter to add a dynamic motion. To optimize the motion, I changed the last 2 keyframes transitions to fade in, fade out. Now the reframed 360 look around is finished. The second reframing idea is the tiny planet. This is a classic 360 video. To be honest, I'm not a fan of it, because it is 360 camera stereotyped, but a lot of people like it, so I show you how to create it in Insta360 Studio. First I import the footage again, and I switch to the Free Capture tab. I set the keyframe at the beginning and change the view parameter to Tiny Planet. I recommend you to set some keyframes to rotate the tiny world. This adds some dynamic motion to your reframed video. And here is the final result. The third reframing idea is the invisible selfie stick. As already mentioned, I recorded the raw 360 footage with the Insta360 ONE X2. In my opinion, this is one of the best 360 consumer cameras on the market right now. Especially the stitching is very good, which is important for the invisible selfie stick video. When you zoom in, it's nearly impossible to find a stitching line. Insta360 Studio is doing the stitching process automatically, as soon as you import the footage. In the stitching process, the selfie stick is removed out of the picture, so it looks like a small drone is flying in front of you. Only the shadow reveals the secret. This technology is a huge advantage of 360 cameras, and every viewer who is not familiar with 360 cams will rack their brains how it is possible. Here is a Gimbal Guru tip. Sometimes the stitching result improves when you activate dynamic stitching in Insta360 Studio. To reframe the footage, I start with a keyframe at the beginning. I choose the natural view and set the FOV value to 115 and the distance parameter to 0.3. As you have probably already noticed, I'm a big fan of dynamic movements. So I recommend you to set some keyframes and to adjust the roll parameter. Here is an example how I did it. To optimize the movement, change the transition between the keyframes to fade in, fade out. This gives your motions a more natural looking FPV drone movement. The next reframing idea is the FPV drone shot. I already made a tutorial on how to create the effect in Adobe Premiere Pro and After Effects. But now I show you how to create it in Insta360 Studio. The editing is similar to the invisible selfie stick shot, but this time the view points forward. At the start of the footage I created a natural view keyframe with the same FOV and distance parameters as before. Now you can get creative. Create some keyframes and change the roll angle slightly, from left to right. Also change the direction of the view slightly. After you have set all your keyframes, change the transitions between them to fade in, fade out. This is very important to simulate the FPV drone motions. The wide view in combination with the stabilized video and the added movement looks like you're flying a FPV drone. The next reframing idea is the object tracking. There are two ways to create an object tracking shot. The first way is to use the deep track function in Insta360 Studio. Mark the object you want to track and click Start Tracking. Insta360 Studio tracks the object. The second way is to do it manually. Again, I use the natural view. Set some keyframes and try to keep a fixed point of the object in the center of the image. After finishing the keyframing, I reverse the video and the object tracking shot is finished. Reminds me on a hyperlapse. What do you think? The next reframing idea is the tilting up shot. The reframing is very easy. Again, we use the natural view. But this time we lower the FOV value to 110 and set the distance to 0. With these settings, the tilting up shot looks more natural. Now set the keyframe at the beginning and point at the ground. At the end you set another keyframe and point at the sky. and your tilt up shot is finished. It's that easy. Our next reframing idea is the 360 roll. I keep the last settings of the natural view parameter with the FOV value at 110 and the distance at 0. I set the keyframe at the beginning and start with a slight roll angle. Add the next keyframe some seconds later, with a roll angle of plus or minus 360 degrees, plus some additional degrees. This extra degrees before and after the main 360 roll are adding a continuous roll motion to your shot. Very important is to change the keyframe transition to fade in, fade out. This gives your 360 roll shot a nice natural looking motion. Now your reframed 360 roll video is finished. The last reframing idea is the inverted tiny planet. The easiest way to create this reframed video is to take the tiny planet shot as basic footage. The only thing you had to do now is to change the tilt angle until you achieve an inverted tiny planet. Do this at every keyframe and your result is an inverted tiny planet shot. These were my 8 reframing options for this 360 footage, recorded with the Insta360 ONE X2. Which option do you like the most? Or do you have another creative reframing idea? Let me know in the comments. As already mentioned, I recorded the 360 RAW footage with the Insta360 ONE X2. In my opinion, the ONE X2 and the ONE R are one of the best 360 consumer cameras on the market right now. Check out the links in the description and get your Insta360 camera now. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial and learned something new. If you want to see more 360 video tutorials, 360 camera reviews and much more, subscribe to my channel and stay tuned. Some big projects are coming soon. I see you in the next video. Ciao!